You've probably heard that the 2026 NBA draft is extremely strong. The class entered the college basketball season with tons and tons of hype, and to this point, it's lived up to that hype. 3 players who I consider number 1 pick caliber prospects, an extremely strong freshman class, and a bunch of European and international players strengthening the college ranks, and some interesting returners as well. Let's go through my December 1st big board for the 2026 NBA draft. And this is not a mock draft. I'm not considering team fits here. And this board is more of a loose ranking. The board is split into tiers, and players within tiers are mostly interchangeable, especially as we go down the board. It's more important to me where a player falls in a tier rather than their individual order on the big board, but let's get into talking about the board. A bunch of players early on in this college basketball season have risen their stock, and plenty of players returning to colleges or transferring to different schools have made big names for themselves. Cameron Carr, he's a 6'5" wing who transferred from Tennessee to Baylor, and he has been a stud so far to start the year. Exceptional outside shooter, really impressive shot blocker, has the 3-and-D profile that NBA teams love, with the athletic juice to potentially break out of that ceiling. He is a really impressive shot blocker. Another wing, Juke Harris, Wake Forest. He's a sophomore who was at Wake Forest last year, but has taken big leaps in terms of his on-ball usage, his efficiency, his foul drawing. He's always been an explosive, athletic, fun player, but added strength and outside shooting ability has really helped him tap into his athleticism and make the most of it. And maybe the biggest riser among transfers for me is Michigan center Ade Mara, who transferred from UCLA after not playing much throughout his 2 seasons. But the Wolverines are the most dominant team in the country, and Mara is a huge part of that. He is a dominant shot blocker who has improved as a mover. He can play closer to the level in pick and roll defense, and he is a passing wizard at times with the ball. He can throw behind his back, around his head, even if he doesn't always make the greatest decisions. But Mara has absolutely blasted his stock up, and Carr and Mara especially we'll talk about as top 20 players in a little bit. But of course, there are players whose stock have gone down. There's a couple freshmen who are hard to project. It's hard to project high school players to college basketball. And Nate Aments, for me, has been a bit disappointing. He's definitely struggled in terms of athletic translation to college basketball. He's drawing more fouls than ever. That's definitely nice to see. But he really isn't able to create advantages or score really well off the dribble. And he hasn't been as impactful on defense as I thought he'd be. I still view him as a lottery pick, but definitely not the top 5 player I did at the beginning of the season. Player like Braden Burries, Arizona freshman guard, has struggled, and there are other freshmen who understandably struggle with that translation, especially early on. And there's a couple players who have transferred to different programs and ended up struggling or not producing as much. One of the big names is Xavier Lee, who transferred from Princeton to Florida in the offseason, and he has really struggled. His scoring efficiency has been poor. Teams are targeting on defense. He's a very talented player, and I'm not ready to completely give up on him as a prospect, but it definitely hasn't been a strong start for him. And a guy like Adrian Woolley, who played at Kennesaw State last year and was a remarkable offensive player, he's just kind of been buried in a really good, deep Louisville rotation, so there hasn't been as much chance for him to shine and show his stuff. But also, shout out to Louisville wing Ryan Conwell and Louisville center Sananda Frew, who both have been playing like future NBA role players. Conwell as a shooting wing and Frew as a really athletic, mobile big. Those are some other stock risers to watch. But let's get into the actual big board, the top 20, starting with 11 through 20, which, as we said before, is all one tier. I view these players as mostly interchangeable. One of the biggest risers in this tier is Neoclis Avdalis, Virginia Tech ball handling wing, who definitely has some questions about his scoring, but man, 6'9", can dribble, can make plays out of the pick and roll, and to me has been a really impactful defender. He can block shots. He's really good moving and defending screens. He's a guy who's rocketed way up the board for me. Even if he can't be a primary player because of his scoring, maybe he can be a secondary player because of his playmaking and If he improves and sustains his three-point shooting, he could be a really dangerous offensive weapon. An elite Duke team, unsurprisingly, has a couple lottery-level players, and the main guys outside of the big one, who we'll talk about later, are Patrick Gongba and Isaiah Evans. Both sophomores, both have improved, and Gongba was incredibly productive in his limited minutes last year, and he also had an injury, played behind Kaman Maluash, but he is incredibly strong, physical, but also skilled. He has great touch. He can put the ball on the floor, and he often acts as Duke's playmaking hub. They'll run offense through him. There's a lot of two-way potential for him, and his production is undeniable. And Isaiah Evans has taken a big leap in terms of strength and physicality, and while he hasn't been as efficient as he was in a small sample last year at Duke, his defense has really improved. He's better bumping players, he's better taking contact, and he's just more comfortable guarding different players and guarding multiple positions, and he's also a little better driving to the rim and being physical with the basketball, and that combined with his three-point shooting is enough to make him a definite lottery-level player. There are some high-level freshmen as well in this tier. Hannes Steinbach at Washington. He was playing in the German League playoffs earlier this year against current NBA rookies Noah Esenge and Ben Saraf, but he is making college basketball look pretty easy. Incredibly dominant interior scorer, some of the best hands and touch I've scouted for a big. His rebounding is exceptional, and I think his defense is better than he gets credit for. He's pretty mobile for how incredibly strong he is. He has great hands and instincts, and even though he has some positional questions, especially on defense, he's too skilled and coordinated, and his touch is too good for me to fade too far. Another kind of positional tweener forward player is Arizona freshman Koa Pete, who's had some extremely high highs. He dominated defending champion Florida Gators in the opening. He looked like a man among boys right there, but against a team like UCLA, he was not nearly as effective. I'm still trying to figure out Koa Pete, and I'm excited to see more of him in conference play, but he is an exceptionally explosive player with great touch, and he has the potential to be really impactful on both ends. The three-point shooting is a question. He doesn't shoot threes at all, and his playmaking field can also be shaky, especially against pressure, but he definitely has the touch and athleticism to be an effective scorer at the next level. Let's get into the top 10, and before we get to the big three, we'll talk about 4 through 10, and this tier is highlighted by a bunch of really impressive point guards. I have 4 of them in this tier. 2 are freshmen, Louisville's Michael Brown and Houston's Kingston Fleming. Alabama guard LeBaron Philon is a sophomore, and Bennett Sturtz is a senior at Iowa, which is definitely unique. We'll talk about him first. He had an excellent season at Drake last year. He is one of the most unique lottery-level prospects that I've ever scouted. Only 6 22-plus-year-old guards have been drafted in the lottery since 2008, and Sturtz would join that group, but he is an exceptional playmaker and has an argument as the draft's highest feel player. He is his team's offense. He plays above 95% of his team's minutes, and last year at Drake, I believe it was above 98%. He is a workhorse and an incredibly skilled, high-feel player who really has a chance to shine at the NBA level. LeBaron Philon at Alabama has taken a big leap this year in terms of strength and physicality. He's getting deeper into the paint on drives, and he's a much more effective finisher than he was as a freshman. He's an improved outside shooter as well, and when you pair that with the stuff he was already doing well, really good attacking off the catch, great playmaking out of the pick and roll, defensive playmaking, you have a very complete point guard prospect who has legitimate lottery tools and the upside to be an impact player on both ends. He's shown that he can scale down and fit next to players like Aden Holloway and other Alabama guards, but he's also shown now that he can be more of a primary initiator as well. Kingston Flemings and Michael Brown are the 2 high-level freshman point guards, and currently I have Brown a hair ahead. his three-point shooting is exceptional. The shots aren't falling, but his indicators, his volume, his shooting touch, his versatility are excellent. He is an incredible playmaker, and he has taken a leap as an athlete. He's better at drawing fouls. He's better at blowing by his defenders. He still can improve as a ball handler, getting closer to the basket, and his finishing at the rim is a big difference between him and Flemings, who is a nuclear athlete with exceptional burst and vertical athleticism. He doesn't draw as many fouls. He can be a little reckless, but Flemings also blends his athleticism with incredible passing and live dribble processing. So between these two, it's really going to be a matter of preference. Would you like a more three-point shooting, scalable player in Michael Brown, who might be better playing away from the ball, fit next to maybe a big initiator, or a player like Kingston Flemings, who has Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox type upside as a one-and-done, all-in-one point guard level initiator? Jaden Quaintance has not played for Kentucky yet. He's an interesting case. He was a freshman at Arizona State last year, but he was 17 years old throughout the entire season, which means he was ineligible for the draft. He hasn't played because of injury. He's recovering from a torn ACL, and a reeling Kentucky team could really use Quaintance's help at the moment. He's a unique athlete, 6'9" with a long wingspan, exceptional shot blocker, but mobile enough to guard wings and even guards on the perimeter at times. He's mostly a play finisher on offense, and he doesn't shoot the basketball, but he's had some flashes where he's driven and dunked on defenders, and he showcased some passing ability as well as a playmaking hub. And even though he's not a dynamic offensive player yet, I think his incredible athleticism and flashes of skill are top 5 worthy, and definitely something that Kentucky could use right now. For me, Caleb Wilson has cemented himself as the 4th player in the 2026 NBA draft. Above everyone else, below the big 3, he is a spectacular athlete. 6'9", long arms, incredibly fluid and mobile, with the explosiveness to posterize defenders from basically anywhere. He has insane defensive upside with a crazy long wingspan, exceptional vertical explosiveness to protect the rim. He can bend and contort his arms into any direction he needs to get deflections and steals. He's really fun to watch on that end of the floor. Wilson's offense is less elite than his defense. He has been a very effective scorer this year, but his weaker outside shooting and ball handling creation could limit him to more of a play finisher role in the NBA. But he is so athletic, and he's an excellent playmaker as well. He has great feel as a connective passer. He sees the floor really well with the ball when he doesn't have to necessarily dribble into contact. So there's huge potential for him as a connective offensive player, an Aaron Gordon type, but he really is more than that as an athlete, and I think there is high potential with him. But probably not as much potential as the big 3 of Darren Peterson, AJ Dybantsa, and Cameron Boozer, in that order for me at the moment. But as I said at the top, I really do believe all 3 of these players are number 1 pick caliber guys. And Darren Peterson's been injured. He's only played 3 games so far, but he to me is the cream of the crop in this draft. An exceptional ball handler, one of the most creative scorers I've watched at the high school and college level. 6'5" guard with incredible burst, ball handling, change of direction, manipulative playmaking feel. He's an incredible 3-point shooter, and oh yeah, he was the best defender in all of high school basketball since the beginning of his final AAU season. Averaged over 6 stocks, that's steals plus blocks, per game his final year in AAU, and he's translating that to the college level. So his potential to carry the load of an all-NBA offensive player and potentially impact the game like an all-league defender makes him the number 1 pick for me right now. The gap between Boozer and Dybantsa is slim for me, but Dybantsa has answered some questions I had about him in high school as a slasher. He loved to settle for mid-range jumpers in high school, but he's been bashing defenders on his way to the rim, and it makes sense. He's 6'9" with the burst of a 6'1" guard. He can bend his torso lower than most wings can, and a player of his athleticism should be getting to the rim as much as he does. does. He's definitely more raw than Peterson and Boozer. He's not as accomplished of an outside shooter. His defensive positioning and awareness are a tick slow at times, and he's definitely not as strong of a playmaker, but his upside is enormous. He has exceptional burst, and his ability to get to the rim whenever he wants and draw fouls, as well as scoring with veteran craft and footwork in the mid-range, is really star stuff. And I think he has the physical potential to be a really impactful defender too. But then there's Cameron Boozer, who currently is tied for the lead in box plus minus in the entire country. He'll be 18 on draft night. He is one of the youngest players in this entire class, and he is arguably the best player in all of college basketball. I think people really underrate how much that matters and how much that can boost a player's NBA future. But Boozer, while there's definitely real worry about his vertical athleticism as a rim protector, and he's not a crazy prolific shot creator without a screen or off-ball movement, but he's such a special off-ball scorer, whether that be catching and sealing in the paint, a quick drive off the catch, pick and pop, and he's a dominant post and face-up scorer who has the passing feel to be one of the best passing forwards in the entire NBA. Boozer is too good, skilled, strong, and just impactful. He wins and dominates at every stop, and I would wager that is going to continue in the NBA. But here is the full top 30 right now where it stands. Thank you so much for tuning in to our first video here at Sportscasting, and we're going to update this big board throughout the rest of the cycle. So stay tuned for more updates and more draft content from us.